Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. We've got another video for today. And this one we're taking a look at the newly released Cursed House of Mystery Elite Plus alert on test server. The current release date is TBD, we don't have that announced yet. I won't be doing a commentary for the entire video, as you can see from the length duration. These are just the boss fights, so this is presently how it sits on test server. Obviously, as you go through my commentary here, I'm going to have feedback for the alert because while it's pretty much in a good spot to release, the health pools are just gross. they're just pretty gross. So I tried a few different setups in this. We tried 3 DPS. We tried 2 DPS and a battle troll. We've tried a battle healer. In this case, our healer, we just basically have a Clarion in terms of a heal. So it's not so much that that you don't need a heal per se. Like, you certainly use a heal. There's certain things you can avoid. You're still going to take damage. That's why you couldn't do this without a healer. You would need like the Clarion heals are enough. But the reason why is just it's got so much health. I mean, when we did it with 3 DPS, it took about 15 minutes to fight. And then now we're in the 6-7 minute range with 2 DPS. I'm in troll stance, but I'm essentially just a DPS. I'm wearing an Amulet of Rao instead of Quizlet. Than that, I just have trans strat, and I'm just in DPS stance as troll stance and DPS gear, because we only need the TK pull defense debuff. So really, it's just you need a battle troll pretty much for the alert. I'm not a fan of Elite Plus requiring a battle troll. You should be able to do it with like 2 DPS tank healer. Like, it's just the way they have these health pools situated is just you pretty much, if you don't have the defense debuff, it's going to add another like 5-6 minutes. And it's not even that you're not technically a battle troll. I'm not a battle troll. I'm just switch stances to troll stance just so my debuff would apply. Nothing else in my rotations change. This is how you would find the AoE single target, or not AoE, but range single target loadout for mental. But that aside, in terms of what is different with the Etrigan fight, we can kind of get that out of the way first. So you're going to see here, and have already seen, he has a charging ability. So as you can see right now, he's going to charge you. If you don't block that, that's a one-shot, and he'll do about 3 charges in a row. It's typically always, I'd say like 99% of the time, it's going to charge a different player. Very rarely have I seen it charge like back-to-back players, because he basically just picks someone on the other side. And then we have 3 mirages that are going to spawn. They're going to do their flame breaths, and if you don't kill the mirage in time, which you might. Did we kill that one on the right-hand side? No, so you're going to see that in a moment. So basically, it's going to self-destruct, which you just saw, and leave a fire pool. So if you don't kill the mirages in time, they're going to self-direct. The damage is about mid-range, so as long as you're not close to it, you're fine. But it leaves an AoE pool there the entire time. So it's not a one-shot. If you go in that pool, it's about 60, 70k ticks, I think it was. But it basically, if you ignore the mirages and all 3 of them go off, that's cutting off a large section of the map. He still has his Hellfire that he summons. That's a one-shot. So if you basically, as soon as you hear the audio cues, or I believe it's raises his hand is the animation, you have to roll. So basically, you can't allow the fire to spawn under you and then roll, because it'll be a one-shot. So the other aspect here you're going to notice with the Etrigan fight, and why it's actually interestingly set up for Elite Plus, and the way it either intended by the developers or unintended, but it just worked out great this way. The mechanics are in rapid succession. So you're going to see Etrigan very rarely even do any sort of like 2-handed attack at all. Like before, he was doing like doom spin, maybe a couple big scoops and stuff like that. Now it's nothing. It's mechanic after mechanic after mechanic after mechanic, which is completely fair for Elite Plus. Like I said, it's not that it's overly difficult, but if you're not paying attention and wipe to a charge or wipe to a Hellfire pool, then you're going to die. Etrigan's Flame Breath as well, the one on the tank, that's basically fixed position. That one, it does one-shot, but it'll kill you in like 3 or 4 ticks. But at the same time, that's completely avoidable. That's you just stay at range. So technically, you could probably get away with this without a tank. If you have maybe like a decoy from gadgets, or maybe you run a healer, so like a battle troll, 2 DPS and a healer instead of a tank. So that's always an option as well. Because like I said, since he's doing rapid mechanics, there are a few times where he attacks, so obviously that would be situational. But most of the time it's just going to be mechanic after mechanic. Which, without the health pool increase, like the only change that they really have to make to Etrigan, there's 2 that I'm going to suggest. Because one's is slightly unfair. So when the mirages spawn, obviously the focus is on the Mirages because you don't want them to explode and kill you or leave the fire pools. So all the DPS are focused on the Mirages, which have a fair amount of health themselves. It's not like you can just easily kill it. You have to focus your rotation on it or save a supercharge or an ally. But the issue is that when the 3 Mirages spawn, Etrigan can still charge. So you lose track of it because the Mirages are doing their flamethrowers. Etrigan might do his flamethrower and then charge. You're not going to see those red arrows indicators on the ground because there's fire everywhere. So you have to be you have to be not only watching the Mirages to make sure that you're not close to it so they explode and you die, but then you have to keep an eye on Etrigan the entire time or be on voice chat and have someone call it the charges, which, I mean, it's people in voice chat in groups. I mean, pugs, that's never going to happen, but I mean, even in leagues, you're not always in voice chat or in Discord. So that's what I would change because that's slightly unfair. I mean, obviously you could watch and be fine, but that is slightly unfair because you're never going to see the graphic indicator because there's too much fire on the map. And then the other aspect is Etrigan's health pool is way too large. Way too large. So I would say probably cut it by 20-25%. And we're going to I'm kind of extending my commentary into the second boss. But yeah, with Etrigan, a good group, if you got a battle troll and like good DPS, because I mean, we're not low gear DPS. Like I'm 430, 427, 425. So we're by no means low geared. It is test server. These are my European friends from the EU server, so I mean they've got some larger delay, lower skill points. So it's not like you'd have much higher DPS on live, but not drastically larger. So the issue is that if you have a battle troll and specifically go in with that and have good DPS, that fight should take like 3 to 4 minutes, which is completely fair. If you wipe, obviously it's extend it, take longer, but by no means. If you have good DPS and it still takes you like 6-7 minutes to fight that, because if you lose the DPS or don't go on the troll, that's just going to slow down everything. And it's got no business being like a 10 to 15 minute fight. So that's, if you've got a good group, you're focused on the mechanics, pay attention, it should take 3 to 4 minutes. That's completely fair. If you have lower DPS, it takes like 5 to 6 minutes, and if you keep wiping because you're not paying attention or blocking or anything, then yeah, it's going to take like 10-15 minutes. So that's completely fair. So those are the 2 adjustments I would make on that fight. Other than that, it's pretty fair, and it's fair enough for Elite Plus. So on the second boss here, there's a couple of issues here. So really, the main difference here, you're going to see a ghost ad spawn. It respawns every few seconds, so there's really no point of killing the ad. It's just going to die from splash damage. You're also going to see an attack called, I think it's like Spectral Stab, I want to say, the name of it. Either way, it's similar to like a Red Death mechanic where Cursed Deadman is going to teleport behind you and do like a stab. And then it's not a one-shot, but you don't want to just sit there and eat it. It's probably going to take like 1 or 2 hits to kill you. So that's right here. So he's going to teleport to you, teleport around. That's his phase. And then the issue with this right now is that the transformation stage puts a dot on you. That's new. So you can see that the dot takes me about 60k. But the issue is that it happens at the exact same time you have a cursed ghost and Deadman attacking you and a dot, and you lose your abilities. So while it's not much of a concern for like the DPS, healer, or troll, as the tank, that can be a massive problem because you have to roll to get your Will-O-Wisp. You have no opportunities to save yourself. You have no powers. And you're getting attacked by 3 things. A dot, an ad, and the boss. So, and then sometimes, typically what will happen is right after the Will-O-Wisp phase is the furniture phase. So when you're like low health, you're managing an ad, at least during the furniture phase, Deadman will disappear, but the ad does not. So while you're trying to juggle the furniture, which are all one-shot, it's an automatic one-shot for the furniture in Elite Plus, and you're not going to get that res because you're going to have furniture all over the place. It's very difficult to get the res during the furniture phase. So, and you still have that ad. And you have to also worry about when Deadman comes up after, I think is it the 3rd furniture phase or the 4th one? I can't remember exactly. It's either 3rd or 4th. Deadman will spawn towards the center, but if you're the tank, just as he spawned now, you have to make sure you pick up that boss, or he's just going to one-shot and do like a brawling stomp smash on a player and pretty much one-shot them. So you can't have that either. So it's a lot. It's too much for a tank all at once. That's not fair, because it's all RNG. So like say for example, like this is an Earth, Finest is an Earth tank. So imagine he was brick. If he's brick, the Will-O-Wisp will lose your loadout, so it desummons brick. You can't time it with any kind of gemstone. So because you don't know exactly when it's coming, it can happen anytime. It's an audio cue and then like an instant thing. So you don't have like a kind of a tell or pre-reaction to it. So in Earth, you're basically, if your Aftershocks drop, because it does take, you can't instantly like do the Will-O-Wisp. You have to roll, turn the cog. It's not instant. So your defense could drop. If your ice tanks, your shield could drop, or your atomic aura could drop. Rage, you won't. Sometimes it can lead to an issue where you could crash because you don't crash in the Will-O-Wisp, but the timer keeps going. So say, for example, you hit Severe, go into Will-O-Wisp, turn your cog, and get out, and you get your loadout back again. Severe is still ticking, so you could crash right away. It makes you immune in the Will-O-Wisp, but it doesn't stop the timer on the cooldown ability. When I was doing it as a fire tank, that I was super successful because, I mean, obviously fire tank, I can have Stoke Flames or Burning Termination active. I can have the defense shield as well. Not the defense shield, but the longer lasting defense mitigation. So there's much more opportunities for fire to keep yourself alive during that phase. But the change I would make to be two. A choice. Either the tank keeps their loadout when they get transformed, which I think is perfectly viable. They still have to transform and they're still taking the dot. But at least they can have their loadout active so that they can have mitigation. Or you despawn, during the Will-O-Wisp phase, you despawn both Deadman and the Ghost. So that the only thing active would be the dot, which is also fair. Because Deadman's going to disappear for the furniture phase anyway, the Ghost, the ad stays out, which is not really a concern because the Ghost ad doesn't hit you that hard at all. It's just more like annoying. And then besides that as well, you're going to see from the fight duration that this boss health also is gross. I think when I did the math roughly, approximately, it's not obviously exact, but I think Etrigan and Deadman were around 130 million health. And then you'll see Swamp Thing at the end, I think it was like 180 or 190 million health. But I'll talk about more of that when it comes up. Because we also, same thing, I mean, since there's so much going on in this phase, a tank could die easily on the Will-O-Wisp phase. He does do his trapeze attack, that's a one-shot too. But the trapeze attack was normal anyway. There's only the two new attacks, but with the multiple furniture phases that you're running into, being a one-shot, it's so easy to lose group members to death that it slows everything down because of obviously the health pool. So I think by the end of this, it was just myself and Finest. So like the last 2 minutes, we didn't have a healer, didn't have a DPS. Because the same thing, I mean, you could technically, we tried to get away with this fight without a healer. And it is possible because you're not taking group damage, but the thing is the dot. Even with a Clarion, timing the dot correctly, it's just too much because you don't have time to recover from that. But that's essentially this fight. It's right now a couple of minor bugs to fix, and then really just a health reduction again as well. Because really, you see from this video, it's 32 minutes just for the boss fights. I mean, this doesn't even include the ad waves. I mean, not that the ad waves add a long time, but it's still an extra few minutes. So even though we want something that's really difficult for Elite Plus, we don't want it to take 45 minutes to do the alert. This is a daily alert. The entirety of Terrarium Elite Plus, the entire raid of Terrarium Elite Plus took like 16 minutes with a good group. So this alert is double the duration of Terrarium Elite Plus as an entire raid. So that, I mean, that's just unreasonable. Yes, it has to keep difficulty, so it should be long, but it shouldn't just be artificially increased health pools. So I really feel that it should be, if you've got a decent group, it should be 5 minutes per boss. Now, if different bosses have different mechanics, you could do like 3 minutes for first boss, 5 minutes for second boss, 7 minutes for last boss or something. But it should be roughly about 15 minutes for the alert for the boss fights. And then if there's any kind of hallways, it adds 1 or 2 minutes. So it should be 20 minutes or less. And because of this is a daily alert. What you have now, if it takes 45 minutes, players are going to run it for the feats and then disregard it. There are some new feats. I think they're the same as like normal elite. See, this is me dying to the furniture because I got lost. Because the lines don't stay up the entire time. So it's kind of frustrating because you're looking around both sides and the hitboxes are huge on them. But yeah, what I was saying before, any kind of Elite Plus alert should take less than 20 minutes. Unless it's like a super long alert. I mean, you know, when you think of like Arkham Asylum, I mean, Arkham Asylum took like 45 minutes an hour because it was a huge alert. There's, you know, multiple different rooms, multiple rooms you had to clear, not even boss fights. But the way it's set up now, like metatherapy, I mean, metatherapy would have been awful if it was Elite Plus anyway. But typically, the Elite Plus alert should be well less than 30 minutes total, but it should be in the 15-minute to 20-minute range. If you've got a good group. If you got a bad group or like not, you know, optimal group, whatever, obviously it's going to take you much longer because you're relying on your DPS or relying on a good battle troll. But other than that, it pretty much comes to the end. In a moment, you're going to see Designer die, and then it's just going to be me and Finance for the end. But I mean, it's the same mechanics over and over again. You're just kind of hoping not for a furniture phase, which kind of artificially delays the fight as well. So let's pick this up again with Swamp Thing.
How'd you like being a ghost, huh? You're not gonna know what hit you. Run from those spooky goals. Being a ghost. Hey, fuck with that. Oh, finally. But buddy, you got bigger problems.
So for the Curse Swamp Thing fight, this one really drags out. Once again, the major issue being just the health pool. Because when he goes to that seed pod phase, that he teleports to the center, goes invulnerable, and then have those ads spawn, it still heals him. So when you heal back like a centimeter or like a few centimeters of health in Elite Plus, that's like 3 or 4 minutes worth of DPSing. So that's the issue there. There's a couple of ways they can approach that. Like, even I'm running the healing debuff. I switched to pyrokinesis, so I've got the healing debuff. Still doesn't matter. Still heal through it. We're still killing the ads within the 12 seconds, so the healing debuff would not have dropped when he's in the seed pod. So the first thing they need to do is, if you're running a battle troll for the specific point of having debuffs, and then the troll has to either kind of rework their entire loadout, rotation, artifacts, whatever, you shouldn't be punished for doing that. So if you have the opportunity to run a battle troll and have those debuffs active, you shouldn't be punished for running them properly. I mean, that's what you're supposed to be doing. He's healing, so I'm going to apply heal debuff. You shouldn't be able to heal through that. So that would be something that has to be addressed as well, because if you're not taking a battle troll and taking another DPS, you're actively making that decision where, either you don't need a DPS or don't have an access to a DPS, and then basically to compensate for that, you have to deal extra damage. So that's the trade-off there. Now, in terms of what else changed, he's got a, I think it's called Nature's Fury. He's got a pull and attack. Basically, you'll see it. You get yanked across the map towards him. If you don't break out and roll backwards, then it's going to apply a dot on you if you stick around too long. As long as you're pretty active, there's no. It happens too quickly for you to break out before. Like, you're going to get yanked towards him, but as long as you break out and kind of roll right away, you're fine. You just can't linger. You can't just sit there for a few seconds because you're going to take that dot. Once again, we tried to do this without a healer or like a battle healer with Clarion. Didn't work out too well. There's just too much kind of damage. The gas pools or the poison clouds, they don't disappear. They last to the second phase. So it really cuts off your map. It's not a one shot. It takes about, I think right there was 250 or so damage. So maybe it's like a quarter of your health. Maybe maybe a fourth of your health. Which is still easily healable with a healer. Because right now I'm not running any kind of instant power at all. It's just a pot tick. That's it. So that's the map certainly gets kind of clouded with those poison clouds. The other aspect of it is when the poison cloud spawns, it's going to put an aura on you where you're going to damage players close to you. It doesn't damage you, it just damages players close to you. The only way to avoid that, you can kind of see it now, it's kind of like a thin kind of green mist around my body. That's the aura. The only way to avoid that is not to get hit by the spore cloud, which means you would have to roll like instantly as soon as it spawned, which is not as practical. I mean, you could technically do it because there is an audio cue and a visual cue when he raises his arms. But like I said, you would have to roll like instantly to avoid the aura. It's better just to take it and then just don't stand near another player. So just watch supply drops and stuff like that. So this is the phase with the ads. You can see here, it's still going to regen health. It regens it after the fact, which is still too much of a chunk. It just adds unnecessary. I think this fight was like 13 minutes long. There's no reason this fight should be 13 minutes long. This fight should be like 5 minutes. So it's either they fix the healing debuff, or even then it still needs a health pool reduction. It's just because this is all the fight is. It's a little bit of survivability, not too bad because all it is the gas pools. I should mention as well, the sigil that happens when you get locked into it. Use the sigil to remove the curse. If you miss that sigil, it's pretty much a one shot. It's like 99% of it your health. So don't miss the sigil, which is not that hard either. You just the sigil comes up, everyone just books for it, and we just don't ignore it. The Piranha will, I don't think it one shots you, but it's like 400 or 500k if it hits you. Once again, it should be an issue with the tank pulling it. But yeah, I mean, other than that, what you see is what you get. Just kind of, if you lose the DPS, once again, it's going to take so much longer. It adds like an extra like 3-4 minutes worth of DPSing. So really all they have to do is make sure the debuff actually applies and he doesn't heal, which will reduce the overall duration if you run a troller. If you don't, then you got to make up for it. And then other than that, probably needs like a 30% health reduction. Because once again, there's no extra mechanics to the fight. There's some survivability aspect to it, but there's absolutely no reason why it needs this much health. Which I think when I did the math, like I said previously in the commentary, it was like 180 to 190 million health. So even if you're an amazing DPS, it's going to take you a while to parse out 180 million health. Because if you try to run this like with a power troll, tank, healer, and 1 DPS, that 1 DPS has to do up to 180 million damage, which is not quick. And that's just if you're sitting, not moving on a sparring target. So Curse Swamp Thing is not a sparring target. He's getting at a range. You have to get closer at a gray range. You're limited in terms of the map cut off because of the poison gas. So it's not a sparring target situation. You can't just stand in one spot and DPS the entire time. So that's pretty much it. In terms of the Elite Plus raid, we're running it. There's some issues on first boss, which kind of make it annoying, but it is passable. I'm going to reserve my feedback for that because I know what's changed on second and third boss, but I've never seen it. So still want to bring that and get that footage for you. We'll be trying that during the week. But in terms of Elite Plus alert, I mean, obviously Metatherapy Clinic didn't even get one. Trying to think of the last Elite Plus alert before that. But I mean, it's on par with the others. It's not like amazingly difficult. I mean, it's a bit interesting because you got to pay attention to the mechanics, which I mean, like I said, it's completely fair for Elite Plus. It just has a health pool issue. This alert should take you anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes, not like 30 minutes to 45 minutes to an hour. Because that, once again, that means players are just going to run the feats and then stop caring about it, not run it, because it won't be worth it. So, take care, guys. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching again.
Summons of the green, rise. Breathe in deep and choke. Behold the might of the green. You cannot escape nature. Breathe in deep and choke. Like a wild. Behold the might of the green. Breathe in deep and choke. Remember, hunger feast on you. Behold the might. You cannot escape nature. You can't block this. Burn. Breathe in deep and choke. Nature heals and protects. Like a wild. Don't waste my time. Breathe in deep and choke. We will drive them back. You're going down. The green puts you in beholding the might. Embrace my rage and attack. Breathe in deep and choke. Behold the might of the green. You cannot escape nature. Breathe in deep and choke. hunger and feast.